And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. We appreciate you guys joining us today. We have someone very interesting here talking about something very interesting and an interesting commodity to a lot of people, coffee. It's what keeps the world going around. Miss Brandi Plaisance of Espresso Go has taken time out of her day to join us. So welcome, Miss Brandi. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, my name is Brandi Plaisance. I am the owner of Espresso Go, which is a mobile coffee truck in our area, and I basically just bring all your caffeine needs to everyone around.
I like that. Jumped right into the tagline. She loves what she does, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how she promotes it and things like that in just a bit. But first, want to learn a little bit about you. I told you when I asked you to come here that telling the story about the person behind, the Espresso Go logo was why we were going to sit down today. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, what you like to do for fun, that kind of thing outside of drink coffee, of course.
Yeah, so I am one of 10 kids. Yes, right? I was born and raised in Walker, Louisiana. I graduated from Walker High School, and when I turned 18, I decided to move away to college. I went to UL, and I wanted to choose something that was not too far, so I couldn't call my parents. If I got a flat tire or something, they could come and get me. But it was far enough to feel like an adult. So I went to college there, and in 2018, I was brought back here, and this is where Espresso Go began.
What about your immediate family, kids, anything like that?
I do not have any kids. One day, God be willing, but not right now. I just moved back to the area and then just really started my life in 2018 and just a whole new change of scenery for me. So, yeah.
But you did say you have furry children. Right?
I do. I have lots of furry children. Actually, we have 8. And so, yeah. One day, they're just like kids.
Yes, they are. And you got to take care of them a lot, like especially young kids. So you talked about coming back in 2018 and you talked about starting your life. And one of the things was the Espresso Go truck. Let's start from maybe even before you even had the truck. Obviously you're a coffee lover. When you're talking about your love of coffee, it's always interesting to ask this question because it's like you don't want to ask somebody like they're addicted. But I mean, what is it about coffee? I mean, you just loved it. It's just something you drink every day. I mean, what is it about coffee?
So that's actually a super funny story. When I started this company, I did not drink coffee.
I'm at a loss here. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. So I fell in love with the process of coffee, like making coffee. But my body actually doesn't really tolerate caffeine well. Okay. And so I fell in love with just the process. And so when I started out, I was like, okay, I need to figure out about coffee. I know how to make it, but I need to know all the ins and out of it. And that's really what drew me in is the whole process. People think that it's just so easy. Oh yeah, it's just a cup of coffee, but there's so much that goes into pulling your espresso shots and the drip times and all of that. There's so much into it. And so eventually when I started out, I actually went to a coffee school. Okay. I did. And so I learned all about it, what to do, what not to do. And I was like, okay, that's a little intense. That's a lot. And so I just fell in love with that process. And as time began, now I'm like, oh yeah, I need my coffee this morning. I need my cold brew for sure.
You start getting rolling and you've got to have that fuel.
Yes.
Back up just a second. So you went to coffee school. So, let's talk about that thought process when you're falling in love with the actual coffee process. Were you a barista? I mean, what got you started? Like, where were you sitting when suddenly you were like, I want to get into this coffee thing?
So I was actually volunteering at church. In Lafayette, when I moved away there, I was going to Our Savior's Church and I started volunteering there, and just that whole process, pulling the shots, the fraps, it's so much detail into it that people don't realize. And so, that's when I started, with that whole process. And I was actually offshore. Okay. I worked offshore for, 7 years. as a safety paramedic. I guess I really didn't go into detail when you asked me about my life. There's so much. Yeah. Offshore, I skydive, I hike. So much to it.
All powered by coffee.
Yes. Yes. And I actually, I just came back a couple weeks ago from Colorado.
Okay.
And we went tent camping overnight, and the hike was days long. And we brought instant coffee because I needed that. But when I was drinking, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, this is not Espresso Go, what it'll do.
You get used to that quality, right?
Yes. Yes, you do.
So, you dip your feet into it, volunteering for church. Moving forward, what made you decide to go to coffee school, and where is coffee school? Is that digital? Was it a physical location? What is that?
It was a physical location in Texas. So I decided, look, if this is something that I was going to do, I needed to learn, the ins and out of it, not just go on a whim and be like, oh, hey, I'm going to open this business, but not know the backside, because people like what they like. Let's be honest. They know what they want. They want you to know your product. And so I didn't have that background. I had never been a barista or worked in any cafe besides, my church. So I decided I was going to look up all these things, and I found a Texas Coffee School and enrolled, and it was intense. I literally did not sleep because you have to sample all the espressos, the shot times pulling within a certain range. And so you had to taste all of it. So I was zinging by like 2 hours in. But I learned so much about it. And then once I did that, it was actually a business course as well. So once I did that, I decided, okay, now I've equipped myself to start this business. Right. And I went with it.
Okay. So, after you came back from school, you're feeling equipped, you're knowledgeable, but now you actually have to start a business. And I mean, as small business people, that's one of the major hurdles you have to get over. So when you're sitting there thinking about it, what made you think coffee truck?
So I looked into different things like kiosk and brick and mortars, and I am a on-the-go kind of gal. I am always going and moving and reaching people, and that was the biggest hit for me. Is a lot of people think, oh yeah, it's going to cost less money. That is not the case. Let me just put that out there. There's so much that goes into it, but whenever I was looking into the coffee truck business, it was more of, what can I do to keep going all day, every day, going and going and going and going? That's my adrenaline. That's my personality. And so that's why I went with the coffee truck route. There's so many people and so many places that I can go to that I wouldn't be able to with that brick and mortar location.
Right. And so when you're working through that and you thought, well, I'm going to be on the go, kind of like going through school, did you start researching, okay, what do I have to do to prep a truck to be able to serve coffee? What was that like going through all that?
Intense. So yes, that's what I did. Google was my absolute best friend during this time. I was working offshore at the time, so I had, that availability to research those things, while I was out there. It was a 14 and 14 shift. So on my 14 days, while I wasn't, outside working the platform, I was looking up those things and trying to figure out what I needed to do, because I didn't know anybody that I could just call and be like, hey, can you help me out with this? I basically started from scratch. And so I really got my feet wet into trying to figure out, who these people were that own coffee trucks, because I'm not the first one. And so that's what I did. I just did a lot of research so that I can find the people to reach out to and what that steps look like in my process.
So when you're researching all this market research and you're picking out things that you want to do to the truck, once you had an idea of the design, how did you take design and make it and implement it into a real life coffee truck? I mean, where'd you find the truck? Where'd you take the truck? What happened in that span?
So what I did was I found a company actually in California that builds these trucks. And I bought the truck brand new from Texas, and I had it shipped over there to California. And they basically had the outline of the truck, and I got to make it mine. I got to decide, I want the marble countertops and make it fit my personality. It should have been wrapped over there, but we had some issues and it wasn't. And so I found a local company here and I was like, this is what I want. I want bright and pink and bold and beautiful. And so I tweaked it a lot. And actually I thought that they were going to want to kill me because I had so many edits, but I wasn't going to stop until I got what I wanted, you know?
Sure.
And so I did. I had a company here in Baton Rouge that tailored and custom to my every need. And then we just made it happen.
Okay. And so now you have a truck. So what was it like introducing yourself into the market? It seems like you kind of blew up pretty quick.
I did. Actually, thank you, COVID, because before that, we had about 2,000 followers. We've only been opened a year now, a year and 2 months.
Okay.
And so quarantine really took off for us. We were going to different businesses and different schools and we stayed pretty busy, but our following base was about 2,000 people. During quarantine, as a business owner, you have to evolve with what's going on around you. And so I was just like, hey, what can I do? What can I do? If they're at home, well, I'm going to their homes. Okay. So I started catering to, hey, look, our business is shut down, our school shut down. Let us come to your neighborhoods. And we went from 2,000 followers to almost 7,000. Wow. And yeah, it was crazy. I started out doing it by myself and I'm like, oh, I got to have help. It's too much. And so we would go into these subdivisions, like 5 or 6 subdivisions a day. And immediately after that, like we just blew up. We are who we are because of our community. Like just all the parishes surrounding us really took us and ran with us. And it has just been a crazy blessing since.
So you have actually expanded beyond Livingston Parish, correct? You've been to Ascension, East Baton Rouge, that kind of thing?
Correct. Yes. Yep. We have our permits because we can only go where our permits allow us. Sure. And it takes a lot sometimes to get those permits. And so we are in actually Tangipahoa, Washington, East Baton Rouge, Livingston Parish. And I think that's it. Maybe. I think a good bit of them.
Sure. And so when you've talked a little bit about putting together the truck, putting together the idea, but there's the separate piece to this puzzle, which is the menu, because technically you're still offering a food service, I guess.
Yeah.
So as you were thinking back on the menu and creating it, what was that process like? What were you thinking? I mean, was it like the truck, more of a reflection of your coffee preferences?
Yeah, so coming from a person that didn't drink coffee, I had no idea. So I was like, okay, what are the things that people are looking for? What do people want in their coffee? What do I get? Because it's usually like, hey, can I get a dessert drink with no coffee in it? So I knew that I wanted to have the non-coffee items because a lot of people, some people don't drink coffee. And then it was really big with kids. Like we have so many kids that come up to the truck. We want to cater to them too. And so when I made that menu, before we even opened our serving window, that's the things that I had to look at, and I had to taste everything because if you don't believe in your product, no one else is going to either. Sure. So we had to try all of those products and we wanted a menu. And actually, if I'm being super honest and raw, when we first started, I was like, I'm only going to offer 3 options. That's it. Just 3 options. I'm going to make it super simple for me. I'm not worried about, like, oh, I want this and this and this and the people that are super extra instead of really basic. And I was just, as we started, I'm like, that can't happen. It's not about me. It's about everybody else, honestly. And so we just created our menu to where there's something for everyone.
Right. And so it sounds like the menu is ever evolving based on kind of what you're experiencing out in the field. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate because actually our flavors, we didn't put that on our big menu that's attached to the truck. We didn't put those on there because they change so often. People want this, people want that. They request things. And actually last week we developed a new menu. And so altogether, we have about 30 different flavors, but we started introducing the stuff like Chipotle pineapple, white peach, and people try. They're like, oh, I don't don't know about that, but I'll try it. And they fall in love with it.
Right.
And so we have to keep those menu items or those menu flavors constantly changing because we want to bring people different. You know, people don't like, yes, people are set in their routines, but some days they get to the truck and they're like, okay, I order the same thing every time, just make me something new. And we want to be able to appease those ideas as well.
Sure. So, what is, two questions, sort of a two-parter. What is the most popular item on your menu right now, and what's your favorite?
Okay, so the most popular thing that we have on our menu, hands down, is a caramel macchiato.
Okay.
They like it iced instead of hot, but we do get a lot of hots. But that is our top seller, no matter what, an iced caramel macchiato.
Okay, and your favorite?
My favorite is the cookie butter. Most locations that we've tried to go to when we're not in the truck, they don't carry that. And so it's kind of like an Espresso Go brand, but it is dynamite.
Right. How would you describe it when you're describing the taste?
So thank you, Trader Joe's, because they're like the creator of cookie butter. And so that's what it is. It's like a Biscoff. If you've ever ridden on an airplane, they give you those little Biscoff cookies. And oh man, it's so good. And I'm addicted to it. So that is what I drink usually daily. And if you want to get crazy, try for your macchiato, get it in a cookie butter, and we'll change out that vanilla to a cookie butter on the bottom. Oh, and it's so good. It's so good.
I want mini right now. And
yes.
I know a lot of viewers out there probably want mini as well. So obviously all this you're clearly passionate about
yes.
it. You enjoy it. Walk us through a day, because when you're operating any kind of food service, whether it be a restaurant, a food truck, or anything like that, there's a lot of effort that goes into it, and you start early.
I do.
So walk us through a day. Start from the beginning. You get to the truck in the morning.
Yeah, I do. So when I get to the truck, every day we have to fuel up. We have to get our generator going, because once we get at our delivery, we have to be 100% prepared before then. And so the generator, the espresso machines, the batch brewers, all of that requires time to prepare. Like, I just can't get there and turn everything on and be ready to go. So usually if we have some schools that we have to be there, say, 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning, because some schools want us to be there before the teachers get there so they can get it on their way in. So when I get up in the morning, it's usually about 2 hours before my scheduled time. 5:30, 6:30 comes really, really early. But then we have to go get ice. We have to have our ingredients, our materials, our supplies, and everything ready to go. Whether that be, sometimes we go through 12 gallons of milk a day. Which is a lot.
Yes.
So we have to get prepared. So when we get to the truck, I turn everything on, get everything ready, and then we go to our locations. When we get to those locations, we have to make sure that we're already stocked up on our ice, our milk, all of our our inventory. So once we get there, then before we open the window, we'll get everything set up. Our blenders, our grinders on, the espresso machine's already hot and primed. Our cups, we offer 2 different sizes. And then once we get everything ready on the outside, the cups, the sleeves, straws, all that good jazz, then we open the window and it's like the floodgates open.
So when describe to us, and that's what. Tell us first before we kind of get into that. What's the end of the day like? Because there's got to be parking, cleanup, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's the hard part, isn't it? Wrapping up the day.
It is. It is a lot of cleanup. Our goal is to get the majority of people in and out as quick as we can. And that's why we deliver. No one wants to wait in line. They want it here and now. We're a very immediate world these days. They want it right then and right now. And so our number one goal is to get everybody in and out as quickly as we can. That means mess. That means big, big mess.
Right.
And so we spill lots. Our espresso, whenever we're grinding the espresso, it gets everywhere. And so when we get home, It takes hours to clean because you don't want to leave that in there. That's disgusting. Sure. And so we have to drain our tanks and fill up our water tanks because we're completely self-sufficient. When we get to a location, we don't need water from them. We don't need plugins from them. Everything is self-contained. So we have to get rid of that. We have to redo that. So our waste, taking out the trash, sweeping, mopping the floors, restocking all of our cups. It takes a good 2 hours at the end of every single day to really get ready for the next day.
So you've sort of developed this pattern, this habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously that goes into developing a menu too. And a quick question, if people have a request, I mean, are you willing to work with folks?
Oh, yeah. We have people that come up and they literally have a special drink and they want, I have one lady, she wants 3 pumps of white chocolate, 2 pumps of regular chocolate, 3 pumps of vanilla. And I'm like, you want diabetes. That's what you want is diabetes. But she doesn't really like the taste of coffee. I get that. I was that girl. And so we cater, we have, I think 5 different milk choices. We have over 30 something flavors. So we do it all. We want to make people happy. That's what we're for.
So you're there to make people happy. Describe to us the first, because you had a phrase earlier that was good. You said once you open that window, the floodgates open.
Yes.
Describe to us what it was like the first time you pulled that window open.
Scary. So scary. The first event that we actually ever worked was one of a lady from my church. It was her daughter's party. And so she was getting ready to go off to college and she wanted a coffee truck there. She loved coffee. We were terrible. Oh my goodness. We were so terrible. She was like, they were my guinea pigs, obviously, but it was us too. And so she knew that it was the very first event. So for the drinks, I knew how to make them, but I second guessed myself. So I'm like looking at my paper, what's the ingredients in this drink, because I wanted to make sure that I was doing it right. So we were slow and we were terrible. But it was very nerve-wracking. When you open that door and there are 15 people standing there looking at you like, hey, what's good? You're brand new. And I'm like, I don't know what's good. It's all good. So it's very scary.
Please pick something.
Yeah, it was very scary for me the first time.
And what is it like now?
Now it's second nature. You get it to where I'm also a paramedic. So they tell you when you're in paramedic school that you train to where you don't have to think about anything. Like you just do. Whenever you get on scene, if something terrible as a paramedic on the ambulance, like you can't think about anything. You just have to go and do. And so they instill that training in you so well. I taught myself the same thing as making coffee. It's really one and the same, because when I get there and people tell me what they want and I write it on the cup or we do whatever, you don't have time to just think about every single order. You have 30 or 40 seconds to make it, so you just go. So now it's just second nature to me. We get ready, we get the orders, we make them and get them out.
Right. So you've learned along the way.
Oh yeah, had to.
Yeah, had to stay on your toes, all fueled by coffee.
Yes.
So, if people want to schedule you or find out where you are, what's the best way?
So to find out where we are is definitely Facebook. We get a lot of requests. Hey, where are you guys going to be at today? But the thing with us is we have so many business and school deliveries every single day. We can go to 7 or 8 locations a day. People hire us to do advertising, marketing for them. They send us to realtors, send us to title companies. We have dentist office that send us to orthodontic office. So we do that all throughout the day. Our schools, things like that, we aren't open to the public. Those things are closed, but anytime we do open to the public, we post that on Facebook. And people, if they want us to go to their office for deliveries, they just get in touch with me. My cell phone is listed on there, my email, Facebook, and we have people reach out. I think today we've had probably 15 to 30 people reach out to schedule us. So yeah, it's super easy. You just get in touch with me and I see what we have available.
And obviously you're a very busy woman because because 15 to 30 in a day is pretty impressive.
Yes. We stay very busy. We actually have probably about 15 schools that have booked us until May. And then we have so many people. I think the earliest day that we have available for our mornings is the end of December, actually.
So if you want Miss Plaisance, you better get on Facebook and find her contact information. Yeah, and book her up. Is there anything else you'd like to say about your little coffee truck empire?
We just want to make people happy. You know, that's our whole goal. And people ask us all the time, you know, what sets you apart? And I can honestly say that I don't think it's the coffee, you know, I literally think it's the personality behind it. You know, we don't just want you to be a number. When you get up to the truck, like, we want you to smile. We want you to be happy. We want to be smiling, you know, so it's so important that when you come up, you feel special. You feel important. Yes, you have this crazy order. Some people will give me the phone and be like, hey, do you know what this is? Can you make it for me? And I'm like, yeah. You tell me if you like it, you know? And so it's really important that people know that we love them. We care about them. It's not just coffee. It's happiness, you know, and it's so much more to us than a cup of coffee. We want to bring a smile with every single cup because we know you're at work. We know that you're busy. You're providing for your family every day. The least we can do is try to make it a little bit better.
So, Miss Brandi, trying to put a smile in every cup from Espresso Go. You've learned all about her and her trip from kind of figuring out that, you know, might enjoy this coffee thing a little bit, especially the process to today. Learned a lot, doing a lot more. Miss Brandi, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much for having us. And just one last thing. It was actually a surprise last month. We're opening up a drive-thru. And
congratulations.
So, yes, thank you so much. We're in the process of that. We actually announced that it's going to be in Watson last week. And so, we're going to stay with that quick in and out. It's just going to be a drive-through. It's going to be in Watson location. So we are super excited to have, the truck is still going to be up and running. But we are still going to have that drive-through location as well. So we can cater to, you know, both needs. If you can't find us on the truck, then you can come find us at that at that location.
You have an address for that or general location?
Yeah, it's actually going to be off of Ben Road Extension in Watson. We are working with our engineers and our permitting department, everything like that. But it's going to be a massive, big, bright, pink, beautiful building just like our truck. So watch out for that.
With the granite countertops, I hope.
Yes, indeed. 100%.
Well, one last time, Miss Brandi Plaisance of Espresso Go, thank you, ma'am, for joining us, and thanks for bringing a little smile to the podcast room today.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining and listening, and hope you're a little thirsty for coffee today. Please remember, if you can't find the truck and you can't get a time scheduled, you will soon have a opportunity to go through a drive-through for the same smile and the same quick cup of coffee. Want to remind folks that the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox, and we're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page where you can find these podcasts, audio and video versions that are free. We do hope you have a great day, and we will catch you listeners next time.